entertaining Star Wars characters of all time, Ahmed Best.
You guys are gonna make me tear up, and I'm an unattractive crier.
Well, happy 20th anniversary, gentlemen. Welcome.
Has it been 20 years already?
20 years, yeah. We all look good, though, don't we, still?
Y'all look great.
Well. Now,
Anthony, you still sexy.
Now, it's been 20 years since your characters each took...
Sorry, Warren.
Have I got to separate you two?
Maybe in a little
I'll
bit.
stick you over here next to the Emperor.
That might be even better.
So, Anthony, welcome. When do you first recall George mentioning that, he was going to make more films?
Well, that was many years before this event, because when I was invited to be in the Star Wars, back in 1975, there was just the one film, and of course when it came out, we all know suddenly there was the 1V number, and I looked up and it meant episode 4, right? And at that point it became common knowledge that George was saying he was going to do 1X, which would be 9, and I thought, well, nobody's ever going to do that. Then there was this, we shot all these movies, number 6 it became, and then there was this tremendous pause in the universe, this sort of black hole of nothing for 16 years? And I'd sort of completely forgotten about the movies because I was busy doing all sorts of other things. But a lot of Star Wars stuff, like the exhibitions that you saw around the world, I would front those because, I shared 3PO's ability to be an MC, and one day I'll show you how to do it, actually. I was very popular at doing that, and I took 3PO and Star Wars around the planet. And then this call to go to a place called Leavesden. Yes, so, a car game, and unfortunately the driver knew where it was. And then there was George, who was just George with, that voice. And your character, 3PO, is kind of made by Anakin. And that sort of was the end of the conversation, and I was a man of few words, and as you know here, and I was really happy that I was made by Anakin, because Sir Alec Guinness had been so wonderful to me in those original films that to be created by him, I thought 3PO would be really proud until a few days later I suddenly, because I'd forgotten the details. All right, I was in the movies, but who's who? Too many people, too many characters.
But this was Darth Vader, for goodness sake.
I know, that's what I was just coming to. That was my punchline, Warwick. This was...
Hang on a minute, whoa, wait, punchlines, they were way ahead of you. They know their stuff. They know who Anakin Skywalker is. They know he's Darth Vader.
All right, but it actually was a shock.
It was exactly like this 20 years ago.
But look, to be realistic, it does explain, doesn't it, why 3PO is slightly nervous about everything. But not that he actually, I think, knows that Darth Vader is his daddy, okay? So if anybody tells him ever, just it's your responsibility, live with the results. Because, let's keep it a secret, okay? You're good at secrets, aren't you, Ian?
Yeah.
Now, you said just then that you've helped me over the years become a better host.
And still it is a work in progress.
But one thing is that I haven't learned from you, and thankfully I haven't, is your dress sense.
Oh my God. Sorry. I had forgotten that this was on camera.
Yes.
Actually, they're not bad.
No.
What do we think? And a bit of a red heel there, which is a little... how are you doing?
Tribute to the dog side.
Yes, absolutely. 3PO is very formal and so on, and I have my moments, and I think a sock is where to let those moments out.
Absolutely. Now, Ahmed, George has said that Jar Jar is his favourite character. And that he wanted a silly, lovable, physical comedian that was like Goofy and Buster Keaton. And you gave him exactly what he hoped for.
Yeah, hire a skinny kid from the South Bronx and you get all of that.
Now, you were discovered for this role when you were a member of the stage show Stomp.
Yeah.
Can
I
you
was
discuss
Stomp.
the differences between your physical performance on stage and your physical direction of Jar Jar?
Well, Jar Jar was very much Buster Keaton, and I was a huge Buster Keaton fan, Charlie Chaplin fan, Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee. Like, it was always physical for me, you know, much like Ray. I grew up in martial arts, and I really enjoyed being a physical person. And Stomp was extremely physical. You know, it's a musical with no words, and it was really about communication through physicality and percussion. So when Robin Gerlin, who casted episode 1, when she saw me in Stomp, she looked at me and the way I was moving, she was like, that might be good for what George is looking for. And then she brought me to Skywalker Ranch, which was mad trippy. So you know, growing up in the South Bronx, you never think that you would ever get a look like Star Wars. Like, no one prepared me. There's no school for that. You know, when you're on the playground running for your life, you're like, in about 20 years, I'm gonna be in Star Wars, and all y'all gonna regret it. You know, there's never any of that. So, like, going to Skywalker Ranch and then eventually screen testing at ILM in the mocap suit, and everybody going, we don't know what's gonna happen, just go do some stuff. And I was just like, I'm just gonna be as physical as I possibly can and try to give George everything he wanted.
Because that was brand new, that technology of motion capture, wasn't it?
It was, you know, it was extremely cutting edge, and there was a lot of questions. Like, nobody knew how much to do, how much not to do. You know, the reason why I was in the suit was really as a backup in case the CGI didn't work, or in case they needed the shot and they couldn't animate the shot. And, you know, fortunately, it was, you know, Industrial Lights and Magic and Lucasfilm, they're just so incredibly intelligent and talented and collaborative. You know, they let this young 20-year-old kid be a part of this thing, you know, and really, really be a pioneer in the history of film.
Anthony, absolutely. So obviously in The Phantom Menace we see the origins of 3PO. What was your approach to playing him at that stage?
Well, of course, I actually wasn't hefting the suit there, because I did arrive on set to find Michael Lynch wearing this extraordinary puppet, and he from ILM, and he had created what, as we all now recognize, would be inside that, you know, golden outfit. And it was a really surreal experience for me, because there was Michael kind of not only being a wonderful puppeteer, but sort of being me as a kind of, it was a weird thing, because I wasn't doing it, and 3PO wasn't kind of the way 3PO was in my mind, because I guess when you don't have all the outsides on, you move in a slightly more fluid way. And it was quite magical to see him. And what I loved was the imagination, to think that in fact 3PO hadn't always been a golden droid. Somebody had to make it. And, you know, for people to say, you know, when 3PO says thank the maker, who's he talking about? Well, obviously, not that he knows, he's talking about the guy who made him. In this case, it was Anakin. So to be on the set and see that was a slightly remote experience, frankly. And of course, the line I loved was, what do you mean, naked? Because, you know, R2-D2 is such a light, he's so rude. And he says, you know, but beep, 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 beep. My parts are showing. Oh, my. And always, actors always check their flies before coming on stage, don't they? So as an actor, you're faintly embarrassed at this. And I loved that. But it was quite a remote experience. And I didn't, in fact, meet many cast until that first celebration all those 20 years ago now, and that's where you and I were on stage together. I always remember you were fantastic. You walked out and just took over the whole thing. But actually, yeah, I forgave him. It was all right. Actually, it gave me a few minutes break. I was so grateful. Yeah. But just to take it, yeah. All those people who were there, and I know some of you were there at the original celebration. Wait a minute, wait for it. Because down here to my left is the producer, the guy who put it all together for you, and who's just going to stand up. You won't be able to see him from where you are. But Dan Matson, ladies and gentlemen. We wouldn't be here today without Dan's original inspiration, and I love you for it, and they do too, Dan. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Dan. It's a bit different to those tents, isn't it?
Yeah, we talked a bit about it yesterday. The people who weren't there, it was like being in a war zone. We were drenched, we were walking in mud, and do you remember how everybody was smiling? You were there.
Yeah, everybody seemed to love being dirty as long as you were.
Look at that.
Yeah, that was it.
That was
crazy.
it.
That was crazy.
And you know, guys, if you weren't there, what's that? Ian, wake up. Yeah.
Traumatized.
Traumatized. No, what's the Shakespeare play where somebody says those people now I bet in England will hold them manhood deep, that they weren't there?
Etc. No, they weren't. Henry V, I think.
It was Henry V or something. It was on Crispin's Day. It was like this band of brothers, right?
Yeah, right. Oh, look at that. Remember that? Right?
I remember that.
The Jar Jar Jam.
When I thought I could actually it was fun.
Those were...
The Wookiee shirt. That was my favorite shirt. Right.
There is Dan
great.
and me.
And you've still got the same jacket.
I have, but I don't have the same hair, unfortunately. Look, I have black hair there.
I remember a couple of Klingons crashed in Denver, and I don't think they got out alive. They got destroyed. It's frightening.
Yeah, absolutely. Good times in Denver, and isn't it wonderful here? 20 years later, we're still doing the same thing, but on a much grander scale. And you know, The Phantom Menace, that was the movie that started Celebration, because that was what we were there to celebrate, to talk about. So without this wonderful movie, we wouldn't be here today doing this. So thank you to The Phantom Menace. Absolutely. So, Ian, Ray, Ahmed and Anthony, we thank you for your brilliant contributions to The Phantom Menace. Thank you.
Woo!
Now, I'd like to ask Gene, Doug, John and Matthew to join us once again. Marvellous people, artists and performers who contributed to this film. It's
on a
fantastic.
Monday, too.
Absolutely, absolutely.
We're all
Now,
way more gray, too, than we were in Phantom Menace.
Now today we're celebrating the new beginning of the Star Wars saga, and that came from the very heart of Mr. George Lucas himself. Now I've just received a personal message from George. Should we play it? Yeah. All right then, let's take a look.
Thank you for coming to the celebration. It's one of my favorite movies, you know, and of course, Jar Jar is my favorite character. Ahmed, he did a fantastic job. It was very, very hard. Also for John Knoll and all the guys at ILM, I made it impossible for them. We broke a lot of ground. We were using test equipment, but it was the beginning of digital. Even though we didn't get to shoot the whole thing digitally, we did shoot part of it. So it was really one of the first digital features, and I'm very proud of that. The fans are always such a big part of these films, and obviously those of you who are here are the fans of Episode 1, and I love each and every one of you.
George, I want to personally thank you for allowing me to be part of Episode 1 and of Star Wars, of course, and for casting these incredibly talented actors and filmmakers who have made a huge impact on the Star Wars galaxy. Thank you. Now, please allow me to take a moment to illustrate. Doug Chiang, Episode 1 was only the beginning of Doug's contributions to Star Wars design. He's since created some of the most iconic and original imagery in the entire saga. Doug's helped to lead design efforts on The Force Awakens, Rogue One, and Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, along with numerous other projects. The Academy Award winner is now Lucasfilm's Vice President and Executive Creative Director for Star Wars. Let's hear it now. Gene Bolte has been leading artist in the world of visual effects for decades. She continued as viewpaint supervisor on Star Wars Attack of the Clones and remains an ILM to this day. Her 30-plus year career, one of the longest tenured women at Lucasfilm, has garnered dozens of feature film credits. Her blending of handcrafted experience with technical innovation is an example to her fellow artists today and for all those to come. Gene Bolte. Matthew Wood has remained an essential part of the Star Wars sound design team for 20 years, in addition to working on many other projects at Skywalker Sound. He's earned nominations for Oscars, BAFTAs, and Emmy Awards. Matthew has perhaps voiced more Star Wars characters than anyone else in history. We continue to hear his work in many, many ways. Matthew Wood. John Knoll is a 30-plus year veteran at ILM and is now Chief Creative Officer and Senior Visual Effects Supervisor. He's won Academy Awards, including recognition just this year for his co-creation of Photoshop along with his brother Thomas. He's even on the board of